Welcome to Talk Through Thursday with Jail, who lights the way, an HR pro and both bold. Her story now will be told. Melancholy, maybe, her heart's art, reflects a journey, plays its part, and mother, leader, mental health guide. In her wisdom, we all confide. So join us now. Let's dwell deep into the tales she has to keep. JJ's voice, so strong, so clear, inspire us all, draws us near. Hello, Jay. How are you? How are you doing?
Thank you so much for that wonderful intro.
It's my pleasure. So, you know what? I'm just so curious to know the meaning of your name. I mean, is there a story behind it? I'd love to hear.
Okay, so I come from a family that was a little obsessed with the letter J, as my parents, as well as my elder sister, have their name beginning with the letter J, and they wanted to obviously name me with the letter J, and they came across this name called Gael. It's a Hebrew name which means to ascend, but they sort of Indianized it to GL, and that's what it is. So it means to ascend.
Oh wow, I just googled it and it was showing a gift of God. So, I mean, I was so
Okay.
fascinated. Just like your name, your journey embodies breaking away from societal expectations and embracing complexities, right? So, how has your background in HR and your personal experiences influenced your perception of identity, both personally and professionally? What's an overview on that?
Well, Barkha, as women, we generally are sort of typecast into different categories. At a certain age, there is an expectation that you would do a particular kind of role. For me, HR came quite all of a sudden. I had a different background. So I did my bachelor's in chemistry and decided to break away from that and get into
Wow.
HR. Again, within HR, it's sort of seen as women get into that role because it would be easier to connect with people, not as demanding. So I don't think that is the case, that those are some perceptions. And also as women, as we, kind of get into the phase where people consider us as getting into marriageable age, then starting a family, there's an expectation that we have to choose either or. We cannot really do both, or even if you choose to do both, it comes with certain baggage about it. So I think that somewhere we have to kind of break those expectations, because if we keep telling ourselves the same story over again, it's really never going to change. And being a mom, having two kids, having a job, I think it's absolutely possible. You just need to figure out what are your priorities, and I'm sure if I can do it, anybody else can.
You know what? You just rightly mentioned if we don't believe in such things, why would anybody else will? Right? So that was
Absolutely.
something really beautiful. Just like your poetry, Melancholy Maybe. This is a huge collection of reflections and deep introspection and emotional exploration of yours, right? So, can you share a specific poem that was particularly challenging or rewarding to write? How does that feel or reflect your personal journey?
So this whole collection, when I embarked on it and I thought about writing this book, it was something which I really wanted to do for myself. I have been writing since my school, college days, and then, of course, over a period of time with life getting in the way, you don't tend to kind of keep up to your passions. But last year, somewhere, something kind of triggered me that why am I waiting for some perfect moment? Let's go out there and let's make it happen. So I started kind of putting myself to a little bit of challenge. Let's write something more. Maybe, I can complete X number of poems to a certain day, because you have to have a certain number of poems for the collection. When I started writing, it was quite random thoughts that came into my mind, putting it on my phone, then writing it on my laptop. From all of these poems that are there are about 30 poems in the book. There is one particular poem called The Last Goodbye, which was very emotional to write. As the name suggests, it's about a kind of end of moment or end of a certain stage of life kind of experience. And for me, personally, it was more about when you are at a certain stage where you know you have to let go of that stage and move on to the next phase of life, either in a friendship, a relationship, or even if it is as simple as moving from college to workplace or something of that sort, or moving from one job to another or from one role to another. When you transition, it's those small moments where you are actually saying bye to your old self and embracing something new. So it was deeply personal, very emotional for me. And I think for me, that's one of my personal favorites. If I would say all of them are favorites, but this is slightly above.
So did you just waited for the moment to write it, or it just came and you planned and you just bring those thoughts in your mind and jot it down? How was
I
that?
think there's always thoughts going through my mind when I want to write about something or when I make certain observations. But that particular feeling when you transition from one state to another, it's been with me. And there are certain moments which sort of stay with you
Yeah, hold
in
back.
your mind. When I started thinking about that moment, the emotions, I think that's when the poetry flowed.
Oh, wow. It was
Yeah.
so good. And I think it's so self-inspired by your thoughts and your ideas, right? But if we see at the viewer's perspective, how do you hope your poetry inspires readers to view their own lives and challenges? Have there been any memorable responses from your readers that have particularly touched you till now?
So, yes, a lot of these moments were inspired from my own journey. But of course, we don't live in a vacuum. You are inspired, or some thought gets triggered by different people. I would say I'm fortunate to be in a profession like HR, where you get to meet so many different people at different stages in their own life or career. Being a coach, being a facilitator, also you meet people at different high and low stages, and they share a lot about their journey and their experiences. So I would say some of those experiences, being there as a person observing what's happening, maybe even guiding them, coaching them, has also brought in some inspiration to this collection. When I shared this with people, or when I see some of the feedback or reviews, a lot of people talk about how they have resonated with this whole concept of romanticizing the mundane, looking at your everyday life through a different lens. And I think that's what has helped me connect to the readers and the readers connect to my poetry.
You directly. Yeah. And talking of mentorship, like you just mentioned, you must be having your mentors as a guiding force in your life, right? So could you delve into a mentorship moment that profoundly shaped your approach to leadership and personal growth? Because that's really important when we have that path. Yeah.
Yes. So I have really been fortunate to work with many interesting mentors, both men and women, who have been not just mollycoddling, but also have had some tough love kind of experiences. Shown me the mirror, I would say. Sometimes you expect mentors or anybody who coaches you to be like reassuring you or only talking about all the good stuff that you do. They have really brought out those aspects which did not go well, or they have given very critical feedback, constructive feedback, but yeah, very critical feedback. In those moments, it feels very disappointing. I felt very lost. I was questioning, am I really worth it? A lot of self doubt also comes in, but because of those mentors, they allow you to reflect, they allow you to fall and then be able to pick you up. I think that's the best part. And those moments have really, really shaped a lot of my perspective and the way I would approach things.
Wow. I mean, this is really good to be welcoming the constructive feedback. Not everybody is up to that, but if you're doing it, it's really great. And I think wearing many hats as a mother and a professional navigating the corporate world, what strategies have you found most effective in maintaining that balance and pursuing your aspirations?
One of the most effective ways for me personally has been trying to pick up things which I can focus on, and also delegating things which maybe not my expertise or don't require me to do it 100%. At times in the early stages of motherhood, I felt I was like super mom. I could do it all, manage my home, manage my child, manage my work. It was causing a lot of burnout to
Hmm.
me. Other people were affected. They were okay, they were happy, but I was very stressed out. I was not able to be fully effective. It was tiring and taxing. When I took a step back, I realized that everybody is happy, but am I really happy? For me to be effective, I need to be in the right headspace physically, mentally. That's when it dawned upon me that maybe I don't need to do everything. As long as I have a good support system to take care of things, I should focus my time on what really matters. And that strategy, whether it is at work or at home, I think that's what makes a difference. Rather than just being everywhere, spreading yourself thin, just focus on what is really important, the big ticket items.
Having that bird eye view is really important sometimes, right, in life, so that we can have the whole scenario in front of us and we can put ourselves into situations we don't want to face. So, facing everything is great. Your certification in emotional intelligence must have played a crucial part in taking all those transformative experiences in life, right? So, how has this journey impacted your interactions in both personal and professional settings? And what expected or unexpected lessons did you learn along the way?
Barkha, emotional intelligence, sometimes it's a very overused term or a term which has again a lot of baggage around it. Firstly, people think it's a little softer. It's all about touchy feely. We talk about emotions. For me, it really was an eye opener. Of course, being in the field that I am in human resources, dealing with people, you do have some sort of emotional quotient developed. And it was my desire to kind of further this education more. When I embarked on that journey, it was quite transformative because some of the things were so simple but so beautifully put. Like about addressing your own emotion. If something doesn't go your way, how we get irritated, how we carry that emotion with us, and it affects so many decisions. So we are not able to be rational.
Yeah.
Just by labeling your feelings or your emotions or asking yourself, why is it that you're feeling that way? It really breaks it down and helps you to analyze yourself better. And I think it first starts with self before we go to analyze others. You understand what makes you tick, what makes you happy, unhappy. You are much more better equipped dealing with other people. So, yes, that definitely helped in the coaching journey, in the interaction journey, to be able to take anything that comes your way. Also, you're far more equipped to deal with uncertainties.
Of course. And if we talk of metaphorically, then cleanliness starts at home and then we
Absolutely.
go outside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God. So your advocacy for mental health is evident, of course, in your writings and interviews. I've heard many. So what initiatives or challenges would you like to see in corporate environments to better support the employees' mental well-being based on your own experiences? Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, sure. So, what I believe, Barkha, is that we should talk more about it. Many a times we have this mental health awareness month or week, and there's a lot of stuff happening at that time, but otherwise we don't really open up and talk about it. And it's still sort of not very comfortable to say that I'm seeing a therapist or I want to go and take up that kind of session within my workplace. I think the more we talk about it, the more normalized it would be. Rather than, building up on that unhealthy emotion and then letting it come out in a certain way, having that open dialogue, having that conversation is the starter. So, my advice would be that let's try to normalize it and at least speak about it more as an option that we can give to people so that it's not something that's viewed as different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. I agree with you on that. So, before we let you go, can you just recite a sentence or two from your book for us?
I'll just read a few lines of the poem called The Last Goodbye that I spoke about, which is,
Wow,
one
great.
of my top favorites. So here goes. Tangled in emotions, making me want to cry, we stand together, saying our last goodbye. We make promises that we know will not last, unable to accept that life as we knew it has passed.
There was something, I was so into the word. I really would want you to go further, but as we are short of time, we end the Thursday chat. JJ's wisdom, a soulful hat. Her journey's light, a guiding beam, inspires us all, chasing our dream. To our listeners, here's a thought. What's your passion? What's your plot? Share with us. We'd love to hear. Your journey too is worth the cheer. So until next time, stay inspired, keep chasing dreams, never tired. This is Barkha signing off with JJ's Our Hearts Dove. Thank you so much, Jay, for joining us and making time and giving us words of wisdom on this
My
screen.
pleasure, Barkha.